As a young working class adult that is trying to get a bank for your daily financial activities, in the United States, I want you to know that there are four types of banks. So that way you know which one is gonna fit your financial needs. Because just because someone is using a type of bank account does not mean you have to get it. Because different bank account is designed to meet different kinds of financial needs, right? Well, before I start, I want to tell you a story. The first time I opened a bank account, and I didn't know what type of account that I needed, and I walked into the bank. The banker that opened that bank account for me opened a checking bank account where they would charge me $25 every month to maintain that account. And after a while, I found out that I was paying a lot of money just to have a bank account, and that ended up being a burden for me when I was a struggling young working class adult. Why am I telling you this? Well, it is very important that as a young working class adult that you always make decisions that do not add to what you already have going on for you. For instance, getting a bank account. Now, if you're gonna get a bank account, you're gonna get a bank account type that really meets your need and that is not adding extra stress just because you have that particular bank account. Now, having said that, here are the four types of bank accounts that I want you to know. First is savings, right? Savings bank account. Who is that designed for? It's designed for you and me and any other person that wants to put aside, a portion of their income, a certain amount of money that they are not willing to use immediately. What do I mean by this? Well, savings bank account is the type of bank account that is not structured for everyday expenditure, right? If you have that kind of bank account, just know that in a month, the number of withdrawals that you're supposed to do is going to be very limited. And some banks will penalize you for going beyond the withdrawal limit. Take for instance, one of the banks that I bank with will give me about 6 withdrawals in a month. So that means if I move some amount of money into that particular savings account, and I make more than 6 withdrawals in a month, they will charge me some money for breaking that policy. And you may be asking, if we are supposed to save money, why are banks charging us for this? Well, the reason why banks are charging us for going beyond that withdrawal limit is because they want to discourage you from spending that money, right? The sole purpose of a savings account is to help you save money. Remember, in one of the videos that I did some time ago, I don't know if you've seen any other of my videos. I think it was about what you need to open a bank account. I was talking about how important it is that when you're getting a bank account, you're making sure there are no fees attached. And if there are fees attached, you need to know what those fees are. But with a savings account, if you get that from a bank, each bank has different kinds of withdrawal limits. Some will give you 4, some will give you 6, some will give you 5. You just have to know what they are, and you have to make sure that if you're constantly taking money out from that savings account once you put money in, and you exceed the number of withdrawals that you have in there, you're going to be charged. And I'm not talking about getting charged $5, $6. I'm talking about $25, $30 fees. Oh yes. Savings account also is known to generate interest. And personally, I don't like using it to save money just so I can generate interest on that money. The reason being that the interest rate that savings accounts tend to generate is very, very low. Actually, there's a national average of 0.46% on whatever money you put in, and that's how much you get in a year. It's called annual percentage yield. Whatever savings that you have is going to yield that amount. Now, there are some banks that will give you lower than that, and there are some banks that may give you a little bit higher than that. Maybe some banks will give you about 0.50% interest on whatever money you put into that savings account. So a savings account is good if you're trying to save for a car, if you're trying to save for college, if you're trying to save for a bike, if you have a short-term saving goals, any other emergency funds or something else that you want to put money aside that you don't want to use right now. Savings account is best for that kind of financial goal. Now, when it comes to checking account, which is another type of bank account, that's the one that we use for our daily activities. Now, if you are a young working class adult like me, whenever you get paid, about 50% of your income, excuse me, about 50% of your income is going to go to expenses. I call it a never ending barrage of consistent expenditure. Yes, more than 50% of your income is going to go into living expenses. You probably already know that, you're paying rent. You're not just paying rent, you're paying rental expenses, you're paying car notes, you're paying car insurance, right? You're paying light bills, you're paying water bills, you are paying for your food expenses. Even the car you drive, you gotta put gas on that weekly or bi-weekly, right? Well, the main kind of bank account that is built for that kind of daily expenditure is a checking account. Yes, some checking accounts will not come with interest. Some banks don't want to give you any interest rate on that. Why? Because money is coming in, and money is leaving immediately, almost immediately. Yeah, because you are constantly spending and putting money in there for your daily expenditures, right? Now, a checking account is also the kind of account that you're gonna have, and then you have a debit card with it. Now, with a savings account, when you have a savings account, it doesn't come with a checkbook, and it doesn't come with a debit card. If you want those things, you're gonna have to open a checking account for you to have access to a debit card, just in case if you're somewhere and you need money or cash instantly. You can easily go to an ATM or go to a cashier to withdraw that money. But you need a checking account for you to have access to a debit card. You need a checking account for you to have access to a checkbook. Yes. Usually, I always tell young working class adults, if once you get a job and you now have financial responsibilities that require you to spend your paycheck, which you're gonna spend, by the way, it's inevitable. I'm sorry. You are going to need a savings account and a checking account, and that's all you need as a young working class adult. That checking account is going to handle whatever expenses that you have, be it putting gas in the car, be it rental expenses, be it food expenses, or any other kind of living expenses. Your checking account will handle that very well. Why? Because it comes with a checkbook in case you need to write a check to your landlord or for a service, or it comes with a debit card in case you need to pay your phone bill, right? They need that debit card information to be able to deduct that money. Now, the reason why I recommend having a savings account is I am a very big advocate for putting a little bit of what you get paid in a savings account, no matter how small it is, because I feel like if we are getting paid and we're working month by month, the money that we get paid, right, does not belong to us. Have you thought about that? If you're a young, struggling, working class adult, say if you get paid $1,000 every 2 weeks, it doesn't belong to you. Yes, I know that you earned it, you work your ass off for that, but that money doesn't belong to you. It belongs to billing companies. This is especially if you're independent. This is especially if you have established some kind of independence where you live on your own and you have your own apartment, you drive your own car, you maintain a semblance of a responsible adult life. Each time you get paid, that money is going to go to those companies, right? Hence why I recommend try to take a cut of whatever you get paid, no matter how small it is, and pay yourself. Say, okay, this is mine. I know that I made $1,000 today from the paycheck after working 2 weeks. Out of that $1,000, $50 or $100 is just going to be mine and mine. And I'm not going to use that to pay the bills. I'm not going to use that to rescue myself. If I make a bad financial decision, it's just mine to keep for a whole year. And you take that money and you put it in savings. That's why you need a savings account. Because you're doing that, over a course of 12 months, if you are putting aside $100, right? On your 10th month, you already have $1,000. On your 12th month, you have $1,200. And I know to some big money-making young working class adults there, it's nothing, but for the ones that are struggling, $1,200 could go a long way, right? So if you're a young working class adult that is trying to get a bank account, you need a savings and a checking. right? Now, remember how I said we have four types of bank accounts? The third one is going to be something called a money market, right? Well, how I could describe a money market is, as a young working class adult, you don't need it right now, right? You don't need it. I mean, the only difference between that and the savings is it pays a higher interest rate than some of the checking accounts that pay interest rate. And it's not all checking accounts that pay interest rate, by the way. And you could also get a checkbook and a debit card sometimes from that. But if you ask me, as a young working class adult, you don't need it. You do not need it at all. What you need is a checking account and a savings account. Now, the fourth kind of bank account is called certificate of deposit. It's I wouldn't call it a savings account, but it's also used to encourage savings. But here is the catch: whatever money you put into a certificate of deposit account is going to be locked down. Say if you have managed to save $3,000 and you're like, okay, you want a higher interest rate, certificate of deposit is known to pay a higher interest rate than a regular savings account, right? So let's say you get one that wants to pay you 1% on your savings or 2% on your savings, which is higher than the average interest rate of 0.46% on savings account. Well, once you commit your money into a certificate of deposit, just know that for some period of time, you're not going to have access to it. Yes, the banks, they're going to use that to do whatever it is that banks do. And if you try to withdraw before the agreed time, where the CD matures, they penalize you for that. Remember when I mentioned about savings, if you withdraw more than a certain withdrawal number, you get penalized. Well, the same thing happens to a certificate of deposit. Why? Because it's structured to encourage you to save. But the only difference between a savings account and a certificate of deposit account is, with a savings account, if you put money in there, you could take out money anytime you want, as long as you stay below the withdrawal limit, right? Now, with a certificate of deposit, say if I go in and put in $3,000 and I sign the contract saying, okay, for 12 months, which is a whole year, I am not going to touch that $3,000. The bank can keep it and do with it whatever they want. And at the end of that 12 months, I just want a small cut of the bank's interest on that money, maybe 2%. And you sign the contract and they give you your papers and then you go home. Now that's $3,000 that you're not gonna touch for 12 months. If you have an emergency going on, you can't touch it, because anytime you go and try to take that money, the bank is gonna penalize you with fees for doing that. That's what you need to know about certificate of deposit. So as a young working class adult, you're starting out, you just got a job and you're about to get your place, a place of your own. You're about to get your own car, which I tell you guys to always get a used car, right? Because it doesn't make sense if you're struggling and you're driving a $20,000 car. No, even if the car note on that, you can afford it with your current income, there's no reason why you should be driving a $20,000 car. If you're making $20, less than $20 per hour. They have cars that cost $10,000. They have cars that cost $12,000. I want you guys to, be buying used cars, right? From a dealership, not from, the streets where you can just buy it and before you know what is going on, it turns out that the car is a melon car. Anyway, back to what I was talking to you about. So you're a young working class adult, you just got a job, you're excited, you're about to start your life, you want to get a place of your own, you have all these dreams that you want to do, but you need a bank account so that whenever you get paid, the money goes straight into your bank account. What you're gonna need is, you're not gonna need a certificate of deposit, you're not gonna need a money market account. No, all you need is a checking account and a savings account. And when you are choosing the right bank for you, I want you to make sure that you are getting a bank who is going to open a savings account and a checking account for you that will not charge you monthly maintenance fee. Remember how I started this video with the first time I opened a bank account in the States, and the banker sat me down, and all of the accounts that the bank would have chosen for me, they decided to open a checking account that has a monthly maintenance fee of $25 per month. $25 a month. They know that I was struggling in the sense that I hadn't become an established young working class adult. I'm still trying to figure it out, right? And they opened a checking account where they were charging me $25. And you know the funny part of that is that sometimes I wouldn't even have money in that checking account because money comes and goes. I'm solving my financial needs, and I wouldn't have money in the checking account, and I still get charged $25 per month for that. And when I don't pay that, they charge me fees on that too. So at the end, I don't even end up paying $25, right? I pay $25 plus a few dollars more. So if you're a young working class adult and, like I recommended, you need a savings account to put some money aside whenever you get paid, and you also need a checking account. But just make sure that the savings and the checking account that you're opening has no fees whatsoever attached to them. They have no maintenance fee, it's free. I always recommend young working class adults to go with banks that has your back. Be very selfish when it comes to your financial needs, right? If you have a bank that is going to end up being a headache for you, to hell with that bank. You don't need that bank. You want a bank that is structured to help you along your financial journey, right? Because right now you're starting out and you might be struggling as a young working class adult because you're trying to figure it out. But you will figure it out. Because one thing I like about us young working class adults or the youths is that, at first, especially if your parents didn't prepare you for the world out there, you're gonna struggle. You're gonna make a lot of mistakes. But along the way, you're gonna learn some lessons and you're gonna grow year by year slowly. So you want a bank account that will be there the entire time to support you instead of creating more financial burden for you, just like mine did with the $25 monthly maintenance fee, right? So I feel like I have to mention this because there are some banks there or some financial services out there that want to useless your life, and I kid you not, they're out to get profit, and in that greed state of mind where they want to make profit, they forget that their customers sometimes need to be taken care of. They forget to see where the customer is at that particular moment in time when the customer walked into the bank, and they fail to create a bank account or a financial environment for the customer to thrive. Now, there are some banks that you work in, just because you're making a little bit of money, say you're making $25 per hour, you open a bank account, they're asking you if you need a credit card. Now, they're not asking you that because they care so much that they want to throw a credit card so you can have access to more money. No, they want to get you in debt so they can benefit from your greediness. Because remember, once you get that credit card and you're going to spend that money, you're going to owe a debt to them. And when you pay the debt, you're going to pay interest on that debt. And when you miss payment on that debt, you're going to be charged late fee payment, and then you're going to be charged interest on that debt. So, for instance, if you ended up falling for tricks like that, of tricks by banks that want you to be in debt to them, where they want to milk every single cent that you make, life is not going to be as easy as you think it's going to be. By the time you hit 30s or by the time you get older, you have all these debts and you begin to ask yourself how you managed to fall into such debts. So I want you to be self-aware about the kind of bank account that you're opening. In the United States, these are the 4 bank accounts that we have. It's the common ones, and you don't need them all. All you need is a savings account and a checking account. One is for putting aside your rainy day fund, emergency fund. So you're trying to buy a car, put it in there, right? And the other is just for your daily expenses. You want to put gas in your car, you want to pay your car note, you want to pay your car insurance, you want to pay your cell phone bill, whatever monthly financial responsibility that you have or expense, that checking account is going to take care of you. And make sure that it's a checking account that is not going to end up being a burden to you. And all you need when you open a checking account is a checkbook and a debit card. As for the credit card right now, don't worry about it. Don't even look at that. There will be a time when you can afford a credit card, right? But right now you don't need that. Try to live within your means. It's one of the best way to wake up every day and know that whatever check that you're expecting to come in, the majority of it is not going to go to somebody else because of some bad decisions that you make. I feel like I have to really, say this out there because a lot of us young working class adults we just mess up, and buying these banks come in and then they're throwing all these credit cards at us and all these financial products that have strings attached to them, and we think, oh, it's free money. Come to find out that by the time we end up paying those debts back, a lot of financial damages have been done. And I care for you. Oh yeah, Mr. Chime, me, I care for you. Why? Because I've been through all those nonsense, and I don't want you to, be a victim of these greedy banks. So, given the 4 types of bank accounts that we have, you're only gonna choose two, right? You're gonna choose the savings account and the checking account, and you stick with it for now. Why? Because they're gonna help make life easy for you. Any other thing is probably gonna be later. Say if you want to get a certificate of deposit, maybe when you have saved money, you have put aside money, and the money is like a few $1,000s, then you could take that and put it in a certificate of deposit, so you can get a higher interest rate. Otherwise, savings account and checking account will do it for you. And that's all I've got to say to you today. I remain yours faithfully, Mr. Chime from weeklybego.com. I am going to attach some additional resources, on the description of this video, so you could go and read some guides. And that I have some guides on that, that has to do with like opening a bank account in the States. So that way, you know what you need to take with you, the right type of bank account for you. And you're not letting people, use you because you are a little naive when it comes to financial knowledge. And that's all I've got to say to you today. Like, subscribe, send to a young working class adult that need to hear this. Mr. Chime out.